We all know and love the Princess of Hyrule, Zelda. She has been the biggest and most important character throughout the series alongside Link. Commonly seen as the stereotypical damsel in distress waiting for her knight in shiny... naked armor? To come and rescue her. However, in the new Breath of the Wild sequel trailer, we get to see that same princess we've known over the years, but in a slightly different manner. Princess Zelda appears to be very geared up, as if she is ready for combat or something unexpected. We can see that she has some form of armor on that looks a lot like the standard highlight armor, along with a travelling animal carrying a lot of supplies. Quite the change from the usual damsel in distress. Along with this, we see Princess Zelda taking quite a fall as the ground cracked into pieces below her feet, leaving her helpless. We don't even know how far she has fallen, but given the vibes of the trailer, however far she has fallen, she's not in a great situation. All of the details regarding Zelda in this trailer has led to a lot of fans bringing up the idea of Zelda being playable. We don't know if this is actually going to be a feature within the game, but it has certainly sparked up quite the conversation and debate. I thought I'd go over this entire debate about whether Princess Zelda should or shouldn't be playable and how that could work if so. So let's take a look into whether our precious and elegant Princess Zelda should take more of a hero-esque role, or stay as the princess we have known throughout the years. So, where do we start here? Well, I believe the best way to discuss this and come to some sort of answer is by breaking it down into sections. We will first cover the possible methods this could actually happen in. For example, will Zelda be playable in specific sections, long periods of time, or perhaps interchangeable between herself and Link? Secondly, we will cover what role she could actually bring to the game. Will Zelda be similar to Link playstyle wise, or will she have a very unique moveset, if you like, with what she can do and bring to the game? Thirdly, and last of all, how Zelda being playable could positively or negatively affect the game itself. To start discussing this ongoing debate, let's look at the possible ways this could happen and which one would be the best fit for the game. The first way I could see this happening is if we have short and very specific sections of the game where we get to control Zelda. An idea I had for this was that perhaps there will be certain points of the game where Link becomes unplayable. This could happen by anything really. Perhaps he gets trapped somewhere in these caves and we have to play as Zelda to go and find Link and rescue him. Or maybe there will be roadblocks during this story that we need an ability only Zelda possesses in order to pass. I feel like the strongest point for playing as Zelda in short periods of time is if something was to happen to Link throughout the story, resulting in us having to take control of Zelda. That could even work as a method for teaching us more about Zelda herself. What if every time we got to take control of her, we actually learn more and more about her, developing her character even further, as although we did learn a lot about her in Breath of the Wild, that was the old Zelda. This Zelda appears to be a new person of sorts, new look, new attitude, and potentially new personality. The second way I could see this happening is the exact opposite of what I just previously mentioned. What if we get to play as Zelda, but for long periods of time? Personally, I see this as the least likely option. However, I felt like it was still worth mentioning and discussing how it could work. Similar to how my last point started, our playtime as Zelda could all begin from whenever this scene takes place. Perhaps both Link and Zelda become separated and we end up in control of the princess. But with this method, we are playing as her for a much longer time. It would be really cool if we had to venture the majority of these dark, cold, damp caves as the princess. This could also work for developing our character really well, as say she could be terrified at first, but as we make our way through the caves taking on threats head on, the once precious and elegant princess shows who she truly wanted to be. A hero to her kingdom, full of courage and bravery, as this time, it's her saving Link from trouble, and then after that long period, we go back to playing as Link. Like I said, it's the least likely way this could happen in my eyes, but it would give a fantastic opportunity to develop our character. Lastly, the third realistic way I could see us playing as Zelda is with an interchanging system between Link and Zelda. Now, gameplay systems like this have been seen in different games over the years, but to bring something like this to the Zelda series would be a very bold move. Honestly, this one is just as unlikely in my opinion to play as Zelda in long periods of time, although I do believe it would actually be amazing being able to switch between the two. Perhaps this would introduce a new style of combat to the Zelda series, similar to how companions work in games like Fallout. You have a companion with you who will attack enemies alongside you, but in this case, you can switch between Link and Zelda. It's an awesome idea, but very unlikely. So my best guess would be that if Zelda was to be playable, the best way to play as her would be in very short and specific sections of the game. Not overdoing it, but not teasing players either. You do need to keep in mind, if this happened, it would be a first for the series, and probably the biggest change the series has ever taken on. Bigger than the art style change with Wind Waker, and the change back to open world with Breath of the Wild. This is more than just changing the formula, it's potentially changing what a Zelda game is. Now that we have established the best way of getting to play as Princess Zelda, let's discuss what she could actually bring into the game. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean features like her combat system, if she would have one for that matter. Basically, what do we actually get to do as Zelda? Well, as mentioned earlier, she does appear to be fairly geared up. I wouldn't say it's too far of a stretch to assume that she would be useful in combat. You might think being a princess that she'd be fairly weak and useless when it comes to combat, but that's not the case. As the Princess of Hyrule, she would have been trained and taught about combat, picked up on stuff through her personal knight Link, and we actually see proof in past Zelda games that she is very capable of taking enemies on. The best example being the final boss battle in Twilight Princess. Zelda is literally fighting Ganondorf with you, and hey, who knows, maybe this exact scene could be recreated in the Breath of the Wild sequel. What I was trying to get at is that Zelda very well could bring her own style of combat to the game, a bit of flair if you like. A nice change to the well-rounded style of Link. Something I considered was the idea of us getting to use her sealing abilities. Now, I don't know how that would work, but it would certainly be awesome, and just imagine getting to control Zelda in a boss battle, maybe even the inevitable battle against Ganondorf. Imagine getting to use Link and Zelda to defeat him. That would be something special. Now, how could adding the ability to play as Princess Zelda affect the game, and or the series for that matter? Would it have a positive or negative impact? Well, as far as the story for the game itself goes, no. I don't see why or how this would affect the story and plot for Breath of the Wild 2. If anything, it would actually help the story side of things, as it would allow us to see a second perspective on the events of what happens. And if we got to play different sections of the game as each character, that would tell two stories that only each character would get to see, painting a much bigger picture for us. So yeah, I think it could actually make the story even better, as it would offer a unique way to learn more of the story that we'd normally either have to speculate about, or learn about it through being told by a character, a book, or a memory. So story-wise, yeah, it could work just fine. My bigger question is, how would this affect the legacy of the series, and also how the series moves forward? As we already know, this would be a huge first for the series. Nothing has ever happened like this. As I mentioned earlier, the series has seen some drastic changes a few times, but this is a whole new level. Those changes, like the art style choice for Wind Waker and the move back to open world in Breath of the Wild, still kept the aspect of playing as Link to go rescue Zelda or his sister in Wind Waker's case. If this was to happen in the Breath of the Wild sequel, it would more than definitely change the legacy of the series. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I could see it being looked at as a new era of the Legend of Zelda series. I'm by no means saying this would be a bad thing to have in this series, but the Legend of Zelda series has been known as one of the biggest, well, actually probably the biggest game in history, for the typical hero goes and saves the princess style of game. It's a timeless classic that multiple generations can relate to. Everyone knows the games by you playing as the silent protagonist Link, who heads out on a daring quest full of friends, adventures, and mystery to go and save the princess. What I'm saying is, if the game was changed and we get to play as Zelda, I believe it would officially mark a new era for the Zelda series. If Breath of the Wild hasn't done that already, then having this as a feature definitely would. So all in all, yes, I believe it could work well for the series. If we get to play Zelda in short and specific sections of the game, then I could see this working just fine. Me personally, I'm not overly wanting this to be available, but by no means am I against it. What do you guys think? Should Zelda be playable for the first time in Zelda history in the Breath of the Wild sequel? How would you want to see it happen, if so? Before I end off the video, I wanted to mention that another channel I've been loving recently, Super Zelda Girl, also covered this topic. I saw her video go up before finishing mine and thought she brought up some good and interesting points, so go check it out through the card in the top right corner or through the description. Thank you so much for watching the video, I really hope you all enjoyed. Huge thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, your support really helps the channel out and means a ton to me. Thank you. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, then head over to my page and consider donating as little as $1 a month. Again, thanks for watching, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.